All right, so welcome back. So it's about to get good. So we've got to start stitching together these posts with authors. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of talk about what we want, and then we're going to build up from there. And what we really want is if we start with like the post HTML, what we really want here is we want the post to have on it an author object. So obviously this won't work yet, but this is our goal. So we're going to kind of like write some code that's going to break. And so we want a post to have an author on it. So like down here as well, we'd say post.author.displayName. So if a post only had an author on it, that would be fantastic. And in fact, we could go so far as to change the name of this. So instead of calling it a post, it could actually be a post with author object. Now the problem with refactors is you have to make sure you make it everywhere or else you're really hosed. So this is a post with author. So he's got a .author and a photo URL. The post with author also has a body, right? So this is what we want. We want a post with an author. So over here, we're going to have to say, hey, this input is not just called post, it's called post with author, and it's of type post with author. I suppose we're kind of backing things up here. We ought to go make that model object class. So that model object class, you can make it as a separate file inside your models, or if it's like directly related to post, you could put it in the same file even. Probably I should put it in its own file, but I'm just going to show that you can just do it right here. So a post with an author extends post, so it gets everything a post can do plus more. And the additional thing it can do is it's also got an author object, which is of type author. And so we're going to have to, of course, import the author here. And then the constructor is going to have some similarities to the other constructor, and then it's going to call super, and then if it's got an author, it's going to use that author. The thing that's different, though, is that an author is an object, not a string. So you'd have to say, if it doesn't have an author, then just make an empty one. You could also say here, instead of empty object, you could say, new author, I guess, as well. You could just make a blank author for them. Cool, so now we've got a model object for it. So I'm going to save some things up here. So now I come back over here, I'm going to have to import this post with author. So if you give me a post with an author object on there, I'll display it correctly. So that's my promise. So now we've got to kind of back it up one more level. So we've got to go up to the post list. So now he's no longer expecting a post, he's expecting a post with an author. So I guess what we ought to give him is, we'll change the variable of this one as well, right? We'll go and change this to post with author. And in fact, the stream could be renamed as well. So it's post with author stream. There is no such thing as a post with author stream. So we're going to have to go make it. So now we're kind of getting back up to the data level, right? So the display is going to work out great now if the data was only in place, right? So we've got to go back up to the post service. And we just said, hey, post service, where are you at? We want you to make for us a post with author stream. And then you're like, hey, great. How on earth do I do that? I don't even actually know what type of object it is yet. So I'm just going to comment it out for the time being. But that's what we're trying to make. So we're trying to make a post with author stream. Now, it's not a Firebase list observable, because Firebase list observables are when you get things from Firebase. But the problem is that there's no such list in Firebase because they're disjoint in Firebase, and we have to stitch them together. And so if you think about what we need to do to stitch together is we need to go through every single post, and for every single post we need to take this key and look it up in the author's map, right? So I need to take this key and I need to look it up, and it's got this object on there, and so I need to stick this object onto this post. And I go to the next post and I do the same game. So the only way we can make a post with author stream is we have to have these authors as well. So before we even get into making this, let's go ahead and get ourselves all these authors. Now these authors, you don't really want a list of authors, because a list of authors, they'd be like in there by index, they'd be a pain. We actually want a map so that we can quickly look them up by key. And the way you get a map is actually easier than getting a list. And that's, you just get the object for all authors, and it just gives you the map. Let's make that map first, and then we'll start talking more about the post here. I'll say nobody's using this function anymore, so you can actually just delete it, or comment it out if you just want to comment it out. So let's go over to our author service. And what our author service, what we really need from you is we need a author map stream. This is exciting. And so it's going to be a Firebase object observable. And the thing that it fires, it actually fires a map. So we can say map. And this map is of strings to author objects. Yeah, it's really, really interesting at this point. But if you think through it, I mean, that's what this thing is. So it's a map, which maps strings to authors. And it's, this whole thing is a map. So the way Firebase works is it's kind of like it's a map inside, and it's just showing you, hey, this is the key for this object value. So there's kind of like two things here. So you really have to understand how Firebase works pretty well to be able to kind of make sense of this code, right? And so it's saved in Firebase as a map. And let's go ahead and make it. Maybe it'll make even more sense. So we'll just say, hey, this dot author map stream is equal to this dot db dot object of the this dot, oh, I don't need the quotes, this dot author's path. So what it's going to do is it's just going to get that entire map for everything that's in here. So this is just a big map, and it's going to save it to the author map stream. And it is still a stream because if it changes, it'll fire up the changed map, right? So whenever the map changes, that stream will fire, and it'll give you the updated map. And Firebase tries to do things efficiently under the hood. So if one thing changed, it doesn't pull all the data down. It just pulls down the change. What you get in your code is, again, all the data. And so now we've got the two pieces we need. We've got the post, and then we've got the author's map, and we need to stitch them together, right? I need to close down some files is what I need to do first. So I need to get back to my post service, which is that guy, and I'm going to close down some of these others. So my post with author stream, it's just going to be an observable, which is going to fire post with author arrays. So that's what we want it to fire. And so observable, it says, hey, I don't know what you are. It comes from RxJS. Post with author, I don't know what you are. And so I can grab that from the existing post model object. And so what we want to do is we want to do some RxJS magic. To learn a little bit more about RxJS, there's some information in the doc for Quick Chat. There's some information about streams in here. So I've got some links here to some different operators. So we've kind of learned about the map operator. And so map lets you take one stream and just kind of change it to a different value when it pops out. The next one we're going to learn about here is combine latest, which is kind of neat. So what combine latest does is it takes two streams, which is what we've got here, two streams, and it puts them together and combines them to make a new stream that is somehow the interesting merger of those two. So here we've got a 1 and an A, and this example is just concatenating them together, and it fires off a 1A and a 1B. So this combine latest function is what's going to solve all of our problems here. So we're going to say this dot post with author stream is equal to observable dot combine latest. So combine latest. And so what it's going to do is it's going to fire post with author arrays, which is great. And the way it works is it's kind of like map. So it receives a parameter. It receives a fat arrow function. So it receives a fat arrow function. And it's getting way too big at this point. So I'm going to have to go on to a new line somehow or another. Maybe I'll just take it over right there. It says it doesn't know what combine latest is. I find this frustrating because it doesn't want to auto import well. So you have to learn a little bit about how our RxJS works to get these different commands. I was kind of surprised that map didn't yell at us, to be honest. So here's what the import looks like. You can search for this and you can see kind of why it's necessary. But it used to be that you could just grab the entire RxJX library, but I guess that was deemed inefficient. So now you have to like individually add things, and the auto importer wasn't smart enough to help you. So I wish that was a little easier, but that's how it is. And I was surprised, actually. I kind of thought the auth service was going to complain about .map, but it seemed to work out just fine for that one. I guess it's because it was on the auth state, but I kind of thought it was going to complain about map. But you can bring it in, and the import, I think it looks like that. Oh well. What this does, combine latest, it receives a fat arrow function. This fat arrow function, actually I lied a little bit. It receives the streams that it's combining first. So it's going to use this stream, and then from the author service, looks like I need to do dependency injection to get the author service in here. That's easy, so I'm just going to use a little private author service, which is of type author service. And I'll import that. So I'm combining the post stream and then the author service author map stream. So you have to say like, I'm taking this stream and I'm taking this stream, and then whenever they fire, call this function. This is the fat arrow function, and this fat arrow function receives the post, which is a post array, like that. And then it also receives the author map, which is a map, as you may recall, of strings to author objects. And so it wants an import on author. And so at this point, what we've got is we've got a combination of our post and our author map, and our end goal is to make a post with author array. So to say post with author, which is a post with author array. And we're just going to start us off as an empty array, right? But our end goal is to return that post plural with author array. So how do we make that? So what we need to do is we need to make a for loop. So we need to say let post of posts. So this is an enhanced for loop for JavaScript. So you say let, and then you can either say in or of. If you were to say in, it would give you like the indices, like 1, 2, 3, 4, but of gives you the values. And so now this is for each post we're going through here. And so what I want to do is I want to make a new post with author object. And it's just going to be a new post with author. And you can actually, if you want, you can pass in a post, right? So it'll fill out most of the fields for you, which is kind of nice. The only thing it won't fill out is the dot author field. And the dot author field you'll have to get from the author map. So the author map, you can just look up for the key, for the author key. And so that'll stick on the author key. Then you take that and you put it on, you push it onto the post with author list that we're kind of building up. So we're going to say push on this individual post with author. So there's a lot going on here. So let's do a little console logging, right? So let's do a console log here of the posts that come in. So we'll just say post, and then we'll do a little console logging of the author map. So here's our author map. And then the thing we're returning is the combined. So the combined author, or sorry, I should say post with authors. Then we can stick him out there as well. All right, so we've written a ton of code. It's time to see what all happens here. Post with authors is a stream which somebody is subscribing to, and so there's a chance that a lot is going to just work, right? But we've also got some console logs in here, which is just in case something is not right on yours. Maybe you'll be able to figure out kind of what's going on. So let's go see what we've got over in our app. And looks like mine's recompiling. And I must have typed mine really well because I can see that it just worked, right? So I can see that I've got pictures for me. I've got pictures for Mrs. Fake. I can see names for Mrs. Fake. But I still want to kind of go through and look at the console log, right? So in this, we've got 5 posts. And the posts come in with just a body and an author key. That's all the posts have. And then we also had coming in an author map, which is just a map of all the people that have ever signed into my app. So it's by their UID, and then it saves their information. And then we stitched them together. And so now we've kind of got the post. So this is my first post, which is this one down here. And it's still got an author key of fake UID. But then it stuck on there, it stitched together the author for it. And that has the display name and the photo URL, which is really cool. By the way, you can also mess with your database. So here's McKinley Fisher. So I signed in with her one time. If I just credit one of these second post to her, it should just auto update. And before I even got back over here, it had changed, right? You almost need with Firebase, you need the 2 windows side by side just so you can kind of play these games better. So if I change one of these and I just credit this one to the fake UID, so this is third post, so you can kind of see it right there. As soon as I hit enter, you can see it just updates. And that's kind of the beauty of everything being a stream. So whenever the post changed, that fired off my post stream. That post stream went into the combined latest. As you might recall, combined latest fires, anytime either of them fires. And man, it just all comes together super slick, which is so fun. All right, so this is a big check-in with a lot of exciting pieces. Maybe you don't find it exciting, but I do. And so what we did here is we did the model object first. We created a post with author model object. We did the HTML of the post component. So we assumed that he had a .author that we could utilize whenever we wanted. We changed his TypeScript just to be more descriptive. We said, hey, this thing is actually a post with author. That's what you need to give me now. In the HTML of his parent, the post list, we passed in a post with author, and he used the post with author stream. It's kind of neat. All the display people just rely on the services to just work, right? The author service created this author map stream for us, which was actually surprisingly easy. It's funny that it's kind of easier to make a map than it is to make an array, even though we've always been making list arrays. And then here was our heavy lifter, our post service. He had to actually do the combining. And comically, the hardest part of combining to me is knowing how to import the combined latest function. That system needs to get better. And you can look up how you figure out what imports you need. It used to be such that you just imported all of the RxJS library and you just didn't even worry about it. But they say that's no longer best practice. They mark it as a blacklisted import. So I guess you're supposed to do it this way now, but I consider that a giant pain. So here was the combining of the latest. So you said, hey, I want to combine this stream and this stream together, and the thing I'm going to output is going to be a post with author array, and then inside of there, it's up to you to do the stitching together. Mine is working, so I'm confident that I can delete some of those console logs, so I'll save it up with that change. And nobody needs the post service outside of this class now, so I'm keeping it as internal. I did keep it as a member variable because add uses him, right? If it hadn't been for add, I would have actually gotten rid of him as a member variable, and I just would have made him a local variable inside the constructor. Details. So this is stitching together the post with author. Cool. So big step this time. I've got an app that just really looks like something now. I'm really happy about the way things are going. Come back next time for a little bit more. See you then. Bye.